Hi, I'm Edgar Hernandez.
And I'm Nuri Robles. And this is
Bar Talking
Bar, your access to the heartbeat of New York City's bar and hospitality scene.
Hosted straight from the city that never sleeps, we sit down with bartenders, brands and ambassadors, hospitality pros, and cocktail lovers.
Whether it's the art of bartending, the hustle behind hospitality, or the wildest bar tales, expect raw conversations and industry secrets.
Listen to the people who pour your favorite cocktails and keep the nightlife alive.
If you love bars, spirits, and the stories that bring them to life, follow us, share, and subscribe to keep the conversations flowing.
The podcast that you didn't know you need.
New episodes weekly. Hello, welcome back to your favorite podcast in the world.
Bar Talking
Bar. I'm your host, Nuri Robles.
And I'm Edgar Hernandez. What's up?
What's up? What's up?
Hey, we're back. We're back another week with another episode. Since, we're celebrating Dry January throughout the year, we wanted to bring no other than... can you please help me introduce?
First of all, I'll show you
Pathfinder.
this, guys.
Michael Toscano, thank you so much for coming.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming, Michael.
Of course.
We have Pathfinder in the house.
In the building.
Yeah.
I wanted to do like a record playing. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
It is an honor for us to have you. Like we always say, every guest that has been seated in this place, we always want to bring what the product is all about, but we also want to know a little bit about you.
Sure.
Michael Toscano. Also want to shout out people who's listening and watching us, who have been watching us every week. Some of the questions, we're going to be start reaching out with some answers to these questions. But without further ado, let's find out who Michael Toscano is.
Yes, please. Because I know you are around. People can look at you in Google, but we went secrets from
I can
you.
only imagine what comes up on Google from my days in Indianapolis, probably, and some other fun stuff. But yeah, I am Michael Toscano. I'm the East Coast Director of Sales and Brand for the Pathfinder, based here in Brooklyn. I'm a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force for 20 years, so I'm kind of a citizen of the world, if you will. But my wife and I moved out here from Indianapolis, Indiana, about 10 years ago. So I'll tell people I'm from Indiana, but I'm not a Hoosier. That's really important.
What is a Hoosier?
That's a really deep question. No,
it's the surface.
It's, there's a bit of a negative connotation to that word, and people that come from Indiana, which they're great people. I just think I feel like because I grew up moving around a lot and on Air Force bases and in the South and the Midwest, and I feel very fortunate because I was surrounded by a lot of different people. If you've ever been on a military base before, it's a really eclectic group of people, right? So even though I grew up in South Carolina and Texas and Louisiana, I didn't feel like I was in those places. I was on a base full of a lot of different cultures and a lot of different people. And so when I moved to Indiana, when my parents split up and all that fun stuff, I remember very distinctly asking my mother why everybody was white. I didn't understand why everyone looked like me, and it was it was an adjustment for me at 12 years old. So I think I always try to make that distinction, truthfully, about like from Indiana but not a Hoosier, to almost kind of like set the standard of my knuckles say more love on purpose. You know what I mean? Like mm-hmm. I don't know. I just feel like I want to set the standard of like I'm here for everybody.
Yes.
Even as a person that looks like me. Yeah.
It's funny because also for me, we both came from Mexico City, and I never heard like you're white or you're black or this like that. In Mexico, basically everybody's Mexican. It doesn't matter where you're from or if you are born there or you have your naturalization, you're Mexican, right? But it also takes, time to adjust and figure out why politics play that game. But eventually, we're here for more love.
That's right.
Yeah, this is love. But we're here for the love Pathfinder. Why don't we start?
Easy to love the Pathfinder these days.
Why don't we start by cracking one of these guys' bad boys up?
Yeah, so I brought us. This is our newest release, right? So we've delved into the ready to drink cocktails. So this is our newest one. This
you can do that too, Nuri.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like, do it.
1, 2.
Ooh.
Oh, that means
Guy, you.
Pathfinder on Pathfinder crime there.
you know what? You've been baptized.
Yeah, that's right. I was raised Catholic, so I can relate to that as well.
Oh wow! Look at this foam.
Yeah, so this is our newest baby. It's
Take
good.
the foam.
It's good.
Like,
So this
cheers.
is Pathfinder Espresso Tonic. Cheers, friends.
Cheers.
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 Michael, thank you.
Of course. So we...
Ooh, yes.
Oh,
I mean, for the coffee lovers and for the tonic lovers, this is the perfect
Yep.
cocktail, mocktail, non-alcoholic drink.
Oh, man. I didn't know we were going to go in there already, but I love that we're here. I love that we're
I'm
here.
a groupie of Pathfinder.
Yeah, so
What's happening?
It's because I did
she just made the sign of the cross.
Oh,
That's
really?
so good.
I mean, if you guys are watching, you guys have to see what she's doing, honestly. If you're listening to us running.
It's crazy. This is the best podcast I've ever been on already. So this is the Pathfinder Espresso Tonic. So this is the last kind of iteration in our Ready to Drink series, and we just launched it. So I wanted to bring some in today to the studio.
Nice.
So we partnered with Vita Coffee out of Seattle. Seattle is home base for us. So Pathfinder launched in Life on Mars, one bar in Capitol Hill neighborhood, and really kind of grew out from there. So there's 50 milligrams of caffeine in this. So there is energy. So it's a nice little pre-shift pick-me-up for anybody that
Especially
needs
what
one
I need.
before the shift.
Oh, wow.
Pathfinder and tonic water. And as you can taste, you get this really beautiful like chocolate, cherry, coffee kind of vibe, and the tonic is there. So this is absolutely fantastic. And just like we all know I'm sober. We'll talk about it. But I can confirm through trusted sources that a little bit of mezcal in this is
Oh, you know what?
pretty
You know what?
fantastic.
That's a really good idea.
My first impression actually was tamarind. So if you add mezcal and tamarind, that would be like a freaking crazy thing.
Yeah,
I love it.
Anything is possible in this life.
That's
Especially in this world.
That's right.
You know?
Try hard
We're
enough.
here to conquer this world by adding tamarind to my tonic and espresso.
Please.
Pathfinder. But yeah, I mean, so you moved from Seattle to New York 10
No,
years
you
ago.
didn't.
No.
Excuse me.
I'm the brand.
Yes,
the
yeah,
brand.
the
Yes, the brand started Seattle, and then we really did take like the seedlip approach, truthfully,
Yes.
of like one neighborhood, one bar, and then grow the footprint. So if you can't go anywhere in Seattle and not find Pathfinder, which is pretty incredible. Pacific Northwest brand, and then we did kind of expand from there, right? So we've been in New York officially with distribution for about 2 years. And we are absolutely exploding right now, which is really great. I think bartenders are finding us that we're a brand, unlike a lot of non-alcoholic brands that start direct to consumer or in off-premise or retail chains. We started in the on-premise. Like we really went after the bartenders. So New York has really adopted us, which has been fantastic.
Well, here I can be your taster. So if you want to send anything, I will say like that. This is good. I need another one.
Yeah,
Something like that.
No problem. No
We're gonna be
problem at
doing
all.
reviews of that.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
But that's great. I mean, I was gonna ask you actually because for people who is looking for an espresso martini, I think you don't have to go that far if you're not
No.
drinking.
No.
This is a perfect option.
No.
You still get some of those coffee nuances. But I was reading the back of the bottle here. There's so much going on. There's so many ingredients. And a lot of this is screaming healthy, which is good for a lot of people because we still want to drink something that's good for your body, you know, helps your metabolism. There's something going on. And some of the things that you'll find in your, you know, like your gin, like the juniper that I was just looking at here, and among other things, you know. Sometimes we don't know how many ingredients go into the process of making it. Because we think it's going to taste, it's not going to be expected.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you expect something different, but when you taste it, it's really, really, really good. So I would recommend it to the folks listening and watching.
I think, and this wasn't a setup, I promise, this segue into what I'm going to say now, but it's a really great call out to us as a brand and our mentality when we came into this space that we were going to be very clear and very upfront about what we have in our product and what we're doing. And so if you want to know botanicals that are in Pathfinder, just look at the back of any of our ready-to-drink cocktails because we list most of them on there because Pathfinder is in all of these things, right? This isn't like there's a spiked seltzer out there with a certain water brand that that water's not in the seltzer that you're buying, right? So there's a little bit of that. We are not that way, right? Pathfinder is in the espresso tonic. It's in our Negroni that we've created. It's in our spritz that we've created. So on the back of those labels, you're going to see the herbs and botanicals because that's the Pathfinder element in the can that you have.
Wow.
And then the sugar we're using is cane sugar. And we're also putting that very clearly on the back. We're not trying to be a 0-calorie, 0-sugar brand because we need sugar for body. We need sugar for flavor. But we are going to use real sugar, right, to make sure that your body can process it as well as possible. But we understand that we need it to make it delicious.
Yeah, and honestly, even it says I have a shot of espresso. For me, that we were talking about coffee, it doesn't taste as much as coffee in terms of like overpower other botanicals here. And I think that would be like a very good add-in to any NA cocktail that when people sees caffeine or cafe, it's like, oh, maybe I don't want to taste coffee. But I swear this doesn't taste too much coffee.
Yeah, it kind of tastes like its own cocktail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then to your point about an espresso martini, it is very simple. And just to really drive this home, there's a Michelin star restaurant in Baltimore called Magdalena. And they had a non-alc espresso martini on their menu. And I've taken it for the last year and a half and shared it as much as possible because it's 1.5 ounces of espresso, 1.5 ounces of Pathfinder, and 1/4 ounce of simple syrup.
Wow.
And that's it. Yeah. And you shake it just like you would an espresso martini because we hold up in a cocktail. And you actually get additional oils, not just from the espresso, but from our botanicals. So the froth is really beautiful. And then if you want to make it a low proof, you could always add a little bit of like Stoli vanilla or something to it and make it a low proof espresso martini, and it's still going to be delicious. But that's simple. 3 ingredients and you can get there.
Yeah, if you guys have a bottle at home, I recommend you guys make this cocktail and let us know what you think in the comments.
I'll let also Pathfinder to share your ideas of next bottle Pathfinder drink. I don't know. Yeah, but coming back to Michael Toscano. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Michael Toscano like third person, like you're not 6 here. No, sorry.
Michael loves to talk about Michael. No, I'm just kidding.
No, so how was your childhood? You said that you are coming from like military family, but what was your dad doing? Like,
so he, really the last 10 years of his career, he was a training instructor. So if you've ever seen like Major Payne or any movie that had a drill instructor with that big hat on yelling at the airmen, that was my father. So that was the house that I grew up in, right? Wow. So, and I love my dad very much, and I'm very grateful for the life that I had growing up. But I think as a kid, it was really tough for me because I wanted to. So when I moved to Indiana specifically, I went to high school and college there. I went to Beech Grove, which is where my mother went, right? And so all those kids grew up together. So there was a bit of an adjustment for me not having that lifelong friendship with people. And I have one friend that I would consider a lifelong friend at this point. But I'm also extremely grateful for it because I feel like it's what's made me really good in this industry, especially as a bartender, because you're dealing with different people all the time. And so I grew up kind of learning how to adjust to who I was with and who I was around, and being accepting of multiple, types of people, has actually been a huge benefit to me. But the other side of that, not to go too deep down this hole, it's also made it really hard for me to have meaningful connections long term, truthfully. Like if you remember the movie Fight Club,
yes,
Brad Pitt talks about single serving friends on the airplane. I do feel like my life is a lot of that, right? I don't know if that was because I just felt like as I moved around in my life and I changed careers and all of the stuff we can get into, it felt very much like people were in my life, and then when life changed and they weren't, it was really hard for me to keep them around, right? I just kind of took it as like, okay, now you just move on. And I think now in my 40s, I kind of wish that I would have fought maybe a little bit more for some of those people, but that's c'est la vie.
And when you said that this industry, everything helps you for this industry, do you remember when you start working in hospitality?
Yeah, well, so I have been in, my first job was I worked at a movie theater and I worked in concession and then I became an usher. So like my first job was literally facing customers and like selling them up on like popcorn combos and stuff like that. And then I did like retail sales for a long time. So I've always been in customer service and hospitality to a degree. But when I graduated from college in 2005, and I had a 10-year corporate sales job, like suit and tie, shave face, no tattoos, like very much, a closet full of suits, that whole bullshit. And then I blew everything up I quit everything. I bar-backed at a liquor bar called Libertine in Indianapolis. No idea what I was doing. I was canning beer at a brewery. So I was just I just hated what I was doing. We talked about this earlier, right? Of like the grind of the sales. While I was good at it, I wasn't happy in that life. And so at 30 years old, I just quit everything and then answered an ad on Facebook, and it happened to be a liquor bar. And then I just started as a barback, became a server, bartender, bar manager, GM, met my wife, moved to New York, Dante, Woodford, like all those things kind of happened that way. But that's a very clear example of, all of my friends that I had in that previous life. When I moved into the hospitality world, my whole network changed, right? Okay. And so, funny enough, I did just text two of my friends from my corporate days. Because, and this is a true story. So I worked for Fleet Management, which is an outside division of Enterprise Rent-A-Car, where I would do business-to-business sales with contractors. So let's say you had like a roofing company, right? I would call on your company to say, hey, why don't you let me manage your vehicles for you, all of it. And you can focus on your business because the vehicles are the most expensive line item you have. We're Enterprise. We have all this, all this stuff. And we would drive around in our little company cars with our gas cards, and we would try to find leads because at the time our phones didn't do what they do now. Yeah. This is how long ago this was. So you would drive around the highway and have like a voice recorder and like voice record all your leads. So you'd see like work vans on the highway, and you'd come back to your office and you would search for them, find the CEO, and just start calling. Oh, wow. The Carter 3, Lil Wayne's album was out, and that's all we listened to. And so so think of like 25-year-old me in a suit listening to the Carter 3 album with adult braces also, by the way, trying to like sell John from John's Plumbing, who's been in business for 70 years, right? Like, anyway.
But you convinced that.
Yeah. But I was in the gym the other day, and a Lil Wayne song came on my playlist, and I text my friends, and I was like, how are you guys? Like, it's been a long time. So anyway.
Cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's good to have some those memories when they come to mind, because it really reminds you of where were you at that particular time. And it's really nice, honestly. Those flashbacks are the best things that happen anytime. Yeah. If you say, at the gym, you could probably be just like, at a, I don't know, shopping something in the mall center, and something is playing, like some certain kind of music, and it brings you back 10, 15, even 5 years back, and you're like, wow. Yeah. Like, things have changed a little bit.
I think you can tell we're all, because we obviously talked before we started recording, we're all in our 40s, right? Because we're all like the nostalgia, we all think about, it's beautiful to think about, the being aware of what we have today, right? And how me 10 years ago, 20 years ago would never be able to fathom the life that I'm living today. Yeah. And as much as there's things that I want, or you were never satisfied, like it's really nice sometimes to be like, man, I've really come a long way, and like life is good. As much as it's crazy, life can still be beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Things have changed for the better. I'm not saying that it was bad, but when we're young, we make sometimes good and not the best decisions. But as we grow and, our brains start to evolve, we make better decisions, and we think now. Like, we think twice on what to do and how to do it, how to approach things.
And also I feel like we were talking earlier about sometimes how we perceive this industry. Like, some cases they perceive it as a, side job to pay bills and everything, and they don't make the effort to like really learn and just like check by check, saying like, okay, next month I'm going to quit or I'm going to do something else. Some people come in after, being in a corporate world and saying, what was I doing? This is so much fun and everything. I feel like also when you're young, you have more pressure of like being this type of person because of your family or your friends and everything. But once you start being more adult and you feel like, no, I have to do this for myself, I don't think you regret it, like quitting your corporate job.
Yeah, and I think we're all on the cusps too. Like, at least it was in the States, right? Like we grew up in that time where you went to college, you got the job, you got married, you had the kids. Like that, our parents were still pumping that message. And then being in the Midwest, the really conservative part of the country, that's kind of that's the cycle you're supposed to follow, right? And so when I broke that cycle, it was a really big moment in with my family and with friends that were just like really unsure that I was really doing the right thing, right? And funny enough, so my first night bar backing at this bar, I'm in like a white button-up smock, right? Like I'm bust tub on the floor, busting tables, and I'm in the back, and I'm like scraping plates off, and this guy, his name's Ryan Elfrick, comes back. And he was one of my best clients from my enterprise days. He had a company called Wild's Restoration. And I look up, and he's standing there, and he's just like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing? Because I hadn't seen him in a minute, you know? And he's like, why are you...
Scraping.
Yeah, like, why are you okay? You know, he was very much like checking in on me. Because the last time we saw me, I was in a suit, and I'm selling him the stuff, and we're managing his fleet. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm good. And he's like, well, you know, do you need a job? Like, you know, he's like, I have sales jobs. Like, I can give you, you can be a sales rep. And I was like, no, man, like, Ryan, trust me, man. Like, I got it. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be okay. And then my first last shift before I went to work for Woodford at Dante, this is complete serendipity in the way life works out. Ryan happened to be in town with his wife. And they came into Dante not knowing it was going to be my last shift and sat at the bar with me all night. And at the end of the night, like I gave some of my bar tools to him to give to his kids because when I delivered his first truck to him 15 years ago, his kid Thaddeus was like 2. So Thaddeus comes out with him and they're like, well, he's like digging around in the truck with him and he was like, I think maybe he'll want to bartend when he's in college. So I just gave a bunch of my bar tools to this guy. But it was crazy. Like those are the moments I have in hospitality that really just like affirm that I was having I was on the right path, you know.
And there's always a connection. And I'm happy to say that you mentioned hospitality, because hospitality doesn't mean it's only, you know, the service industry when we provide, you know, a glass of water, food, and drinks. Hospitality is everything, right? Like even other companies provide you the hospitality that you deserve. It's a connection that you build with the customer, with the guests, and then you become your friends. And when you run into them, it's so really nice to see that, you know, even if you haven't spoken throughout years, you still have a connection, you know? And it's a friendly connection. It's like, hey, how you doing? Simple words. Yeah. But sometimes it's like uplifting, like, oh, man. Yeah. That guy remembers me, you know? Yeah. I remember him, of course, you know, but he remembers me. That's a really, really great feeling that you can't really, you know, duplicate or describe.
That's what it's all about. And I remember being in high school and I worked at, you know, at all the marts, right? I worked at Walmart, I worked at Kmart, I worked at Target, all of these places because I played baseball, so I could never have like a long-term, full-time job. But I remember Target, like, I don't know why I remember this, but like they were adamant in training, they are not customers, they are guests. Target said that, right? Target, right? And it stuck with me forever, right? To the point where I've always referred to people as guests. I've never really referred to them as customers because I don't know, maybe hospitality was just in me from the beginning. And it took me 10 years of sales to be like, okay, let's fucking stop this. But even in that career, I found a way to like make these meaningful connections with people that I could continue because at the end of the day, selling widgets is one thing, but like the connection you make is, I feel like, what really pushes it.
And I hope also people who doesn't work in the hospitality industry understand that why sometimes tipping, especially in the States, it's very important. Not just because obviously we make money out of it, we pay our bills, but it's and sometimes many I guess no, it's not faking hospitality. You really want this person to have a good meal, to have a good drink, and that connection is like. The retribution is like, you know, instead of giving you $10, I'm going to give you 20 because I feel like, man, you just opened my eyes about something like Pathfinder, right? Or sometimes I see people, I remember like, it was a New Year's Eve when guy was like so happy and we were like chatting all night. And then at the end of the night, he was like, here you go, $100. And I was like, $100, oh my God, you know, because it was too much for me. Yeah. and, you know, I think that part of like, you know, you're giving me a very good experience. Obviously, it's money, it's transaction, but I want to show you that I really appreciate it. And when you said like, you know, there is like certain mentality of like even working at Target, that hospitality, it's kind of like service at the end of the day, right? Yeah.
And I think you also, this is a PSA for those that live in Indiana still, or maybe some of these other conservative Midwestern states, they're paid $2.16 an hour still today.
Oh, wow.
So industry people survive on the, like you are not tipping them. They are not, like I got so many voided checks because there wasn't enough money on my check to pay the taxes I owed because we were getting paid $2.16 an hour, $2.13 an hour, whatever it was. So, and that's still in place today in some of these states. So while New York and California and some of these other states have done a really great job of paying a livable wage to hospitality and F&B folks, that's not the case everywhere. So it is super important. And, you know, it's not as easy like, well, then go get another job. It's like, well, then who feeds you when you go to the restaurant? It's like, you know.
Yeah, and I really, you know, it's been a little bit of like talking about this, but, you know, hopefully people understand that wherever you live, wherever you come from, if you're working or you're trying to make your life better, also other people wants to do that, right? And it's fair that you said like, oh, I live in a conservative state or like non-conservative. But at the end of the day, like, it's human rights, right? So it's also, we're talking about human relations that when you feel empathy for others, it's going to be much more love.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's spread the love, you guys.
That's it. This is that simple.
Yeah. And, you know, it reminded me, actually, when I was a kid, my dad, whenever we went to, like, you know, buy anything, we went to the grocery store, he will always give me some money, pesos in this time, because we come from Mexico City. He will ask me to give this to a guy who did something. He call it for soda. Like here buy him a soda. In Spanish is para el chesco. So we'll give him like, you know, whatever amount of money that my dad gave me to him. So he basically, you know, he put that in me already. Yeah. So I knew that even when I came here as a 50-year-old, I knew that I had to tip. But I think this is also within the culture, you know, like if you're not taught as a youngster how to, you know, approach others, you know, in this way, that I think it's hard for you to know, especially since 2020. I think we talk about this. Kids who were not going out during when they turned 20, during 2020. They didn't know how to like approach, like we say, you know, they weren't taught by the you know, older generation of how to drink, how to ask, how to apologize sometimes, because, you know, we need to know how to apologize sometimes. And
yes, very much so.
But
very much so.
But yeah, like I think it's within the culture, you know, like we're missing a part. Like I feel like COVID kind of like stole a part of that, you know, of that connection with the younger generation. And now they're relearning how to do this, you know. And sometimes I see comments, you know, because comments always go in and out, of like, why would I tip if they're selling me anyways? He's working. Well, he's providing you a service. But like you say, you know, if you're getting $2 something an hour, you still have to make some certain amount of tips, you know, not for you, for the entire house. So the front of the house has to make a little bit of money, you know, to make a living, pay bills, put the roof over your head. Whatever reason, buy the new sneakers, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right.
Still, you have to make
a
certain amount of money at the end of the day, right? Yeah. And you're still going to be paying taxes. So I feel like that's the other thing, you know. We worry about how much money we're going to be making. But sometimes, you know, you make enough just for the cost of living. You know, you're not putting money at the bank or you're not buying a Ferrari. Right. Unless you have 3 businesses.
Not yet.
Actually, mine is parked outside.
Yeah. So, question: why did you move to New York City?
So, when I got into hospitality, or like when everything kind of blew up, I have 2 younger brothers. One's an occupational therapist. One's a graphic designer. Right. We had the idea of opening a bar together. Right. But they're not going to be the ones to do it. I had the business background, but I didn't know anything about our industry, right? So that's why I had learned from Enterprise, if you know, right, the management training program. You start from the bottom and you work your way up. So that's what kind of that was the catalyst to like, okay, that's the only way I can do this, because I knew nothing about the restaurants. And then I met my wife, and we just got to the top of where we could go in Indianapolis. And the next thing for us to do was open a bar. And we weren't ready. Like, we just knew we weren't. There was so much more for us to learn. So we were sitting at a tail seminar, 2015 probably, 14 maybe. And it was some bar owners from around the country. And they were just talking about like the issues they had in opening bars, like what the challenges were and how they varied from San Francisco to New York to Seattle. And I wrote on a cocktail napkin and just passed it to her. And it just said, if we're ever going to do anything, we have to leave Indianapolis. And that was kind of the start. And then we looked at Miami, we looked at New Orleans, and then we had a friend, his name's Angus Winchester. He was a Tanqueray ambassador for a very long time, but he was doing some work with Diageo at the time, and we were actually using them in our bar in Indianapolis. So we became really good friends, and he was going to open a bar in Brooklyn, right? So as soon as we found that out, we're like, we're going to New York because we're going to work for Angus, because he said, look, I love you guys. I can't hire you if you're not here. And that was kind of what set it all up. We had jobs in Miami. We were ready to go. And we moved to New York.
So scary.
No money. We're like, maybe $6,000 in the bank. Maybe. We had to sell everything we owned. No jobs. No apartment. A pit bull and a shepherd. So 2 big dogs. We got an Airbnb loft commune situation in Clinton Hill and Taffy Lofts. We were 1 bedroom of like 8. 1 bathroom, shared space, very strange situation. Kind of found our way into an apartment, got jobs at Dante and Porn Ribbons, which was absolutely incredible. And then the rest is history. But yeah, we really just bet on ourselves and took the jump, and New York was where it was going to be, because that bar never opened.
Oh, wow.
It never opened, ever. Yeah. So we moved out for something that never happened. But I think that's also very New York, right? Like there's always that stuff.
Was this bar not open because of the regulations and the permits, or?
I don't know. I mean, I could never get the full story, but I just think it was a situation where there was an opportunity and there was lots of conversation and lots of potential. And then ultimately, it was a really ambitious project. I mean, there were articles written, there were magazine published. Like Angus believed it was going to happen, right? So there's nothing that I would put against Angus in any way, shape, or form. Like, I just think he was told some things that just didn't happen, and then the program and the space was such a big, ambitious thing. It just, for a myriad of reasons, didn't end up happening.
When you were telling about that you pass a napkin to your wife, I was thinking that you said, like, we're going to kill him.
No, not at all. Not at all. And we had the ambition. Like,
sometimes she goes with it. Funniest things.
No way. No, it's funny. And also that was our first Tales. We had driven all night to get there through the night. We all left shifts, like everybody, drove through the night. We were exhausted. We got into New Orleans, dropped our bags off, got a beer at a 24-hour bar, and then went to the seminar.
Iron Rose?
No, it wasn't Iron Rose yet.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere where we were staying. But and then, we had the ambition, like I think a lot of people do when they come here from smaller markets, was to be here for a couple of years, learn how it all went, and then go back to, I don't think we were going to go back to Indianapolis, but like go to a smaller market and like take what we learned and enrich that community and whatever. And then Lyndon Pride, one of the owners at Dante, we were talking about a year or so into me working there, and he's like, what do you want to do? And I kind of explained it to him, and he's like, why would you one, you just got here. 2, you're here. Like, why would you leave, right? And, you can do it here in New York. And I've had a couple bosses in my life that have really pushed me to think bigger than I was thinking in that moment. Josh Ricker was one from Enterprise Fleet, who really put me on a whole other path that I would never have been down. And Lyndon played a really big role in that too, of like challenging me to think outside of what I was, and then that was it. New York is home, so no matter what.
Well, that's very, brave. Like, I always feel like maybe I want to try some other states, because I always live in New York City, but in terms of like financial, you think like, oh, maybe I can open another place in another city, but eventually, like, you could face also that part of like, how I'm gonna pay the rent if the wages are super low and everything. But it's good, like, that you came to New York.
New York
City.
Happy to be here, and in New York. For those of you that don't know this, right, New York City supports you. If you come here and you show up and you do the job, and Brooke and I we're lucky to get into the bars we got into. We also earned it to a degree, and then we also earned it once we got into it, and staying there and just showing up on time, doing the job, not complaining. New York will sustain you. When I worked in craft cocktail bars in Indianapolis, this is not meant to be an Indianapolis hate podcast, right? But the reality is, 90% of that community it's TGI Fridays, TJ Maxx, Cheesecake Factory, that's the space, right?
Yeah.
So there's only about 10% of the population that really care about this style of restaurant, this style of cocktail bar. And so when they open, there's a lot of buzz and everyone's really excited. But then as more open, there's just a life cycle, right? You're going to burn out because the pie doesn't split anymore. You're just more places are taking percentages away.
Yes.
So there were Saturday nights where we would work 10-hour shifts and make, $75 because there just wasn't enough people coming in that were interested in that space. So like struggling to pay a $500 a month rent payment in Indianapolis versus being financially secure in New York is really hard for some people to understand. But the reality is like the city is built to support F&B and hospitality if you're really dedicated to it. And so, if New York feels safer in a way, more secure than ever going back to a place
the
like
cool
Indy.
thing is that also New York has a lot of options,
Yeah.
If you're a bartender, you might look for a job in thousands of restaurants and cocktail bars that we have here. Of course, if you want to get to the best bars, where I'm glad you mentioned Dante because it's been in between 50 best throughout several years, and it's one of the best bars. Everybody wants to work there, So when you apply, I know there's a line of people, applying in there, but sometimes your skills pay for it. Like when there's an interview, they want to know how much do you know.
Yeah.
So that's why, if you and it doesn't matter if you're in Indiana, but if you learn and if you educate yourself, but also, the motivation that you have, people see it. Sometimes people want rather a motivated person who wants to know and learn and excel than somebody who has 20 years of experience and, just wants to give it a lot of, and I'm not putting hand in anything, but I'm just trying to say that the difference, right?
Yeah.
And why sometimes we get hired in different bars.
I think that's a really good point. And it actually is important that I say this too, because look, I feel like my life is full of a lot of hard right turns, right? Where I will just make a decision and then change on a dime. I don't do that as much anymore, but definitely in my 20s and 30s. And what has happened, my dad gives me shit for this all the time. I've always landed on my feet. And he's like, you scare me. You give me heart attacks. I don't like it because he wants me to be, one thing. But it's when you bet on yourself, you trust yourself, that life will figure it out. It's like life will provide. Like you will get there. And so while Angus's bar did not open, Angus introduced me to Narn Young, who was running the bar program at Dante when Narn needed a bartender. That's why Narn gave me a shot, right? So like I also feel like it's important. If I hadn't moved to New York, if I didn't give myself a shot, Angus wouldn't have vouched for me. I wouldn't have gotten it with Narn. So like there's so many things that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't made the decision to say we're gonna go for this.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, we can always come home.
And sometimes in our parents, it's the fact that they want to protect us. They want us to be under their wing. They want to teach us the right way, but the right way is the only way they know. I mean, that's how we come from. Our parents tell us what to do because this is the right way. But sometimes we have to explore. Let it loose. If you make a mistake, it's fine because you learn from that, and then you just keep moving forward. But I feel like a lot of us, especially, since you mentioned we're from the 40s, we come from that mentality, like, I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I need no permission.
Yeah.
All I need is push me. Like, yes, give me the fire up,
Yep.
But also, for example, in my case, it was a little backwards because I was really afraid of my mom and my family, right? Not because they were like mean. It was more like that pressure of like, I have to be this person with this degree or whatever, right? Because I also was the first person in my family to go to college. But eventually, when I moved to New York and I started feeling like, what I'm going to do? And then I have people like you guys that I even if I don't talk to them or see you guys how you move around, inspiring me like, if they aren't doing it, I can do it too. And sometimes you approach to people as well in the community and they will tell you, you should go this place or do this and do that. So I think, like you said, in New York City, it's a lot of like community that supports you. And I've been around like not having a job and someone will be like, I can give you a job for like 2 weeks while you find another thing, or you can help me doing this, or like a pop-up or like a, event, and you will find a job. So I feel like sometimes it has to go with your let go fears and just do it. And if you make a mistake, something else will come.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I've also, listen, the other side of this equation is I have an incredible wife that is incredibly supportive, and the way it's always kind of worked out is one of us will be having the breakdown while the other one is stable. We very rarely are like both having a moment. So, she would tell the story differently, right? Her experience in New York and what she was feeling was far, far different than what I was feeling. But I had no idea at the time, because I think if I would have known, it probably would have been a little bit different. But, at the same time, like she's learned that that's just part of being married to me, is that we're going to maybe do some crazy shit from time to time. And she rolls with it a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, her experience in New York was a lot different. Yeah, she's, it doesn't take, you don't have to look very far down my social media to understand how important my wife is to me, or like, she's the only thing that really matters, Yeah. So.
And then, honestly, it's really important if you're moving with somebody also who's going to support you mentally, because that support is more valuable than any money.
Yeah.
The money not come back.
I couldn't do any of this without her.
Yeah, exactly. And
any of it.
You need that support, whether it's a wife in this case or a friend. Sometimes people move to a different state with their best friend, and they have stories, to tell, and like, oh, remember when we did this? Like, like I'm sure you're gonna talk about, oh, remember when we first bought our first utensils for the kitchen? When we first got this first apartment, and that's like it fills you, but also brings really good memories. That sometimes you're like, when you look back, it's like, oh my God, this happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Time just flew by so quick. Look where we are now, especially in this industry, when you work in the service industry, if you're a bartender, or if you work, as a manager, or if you work as a server, sometimes, those late nights or early mornings pay a toll in relationships. So that's why it's very important to have somebody who understands what you do and why you're doing it.
Yeah. I think my sobriety has also allowed us to be present in these moments, right? So we were just talking about this, my wife and I, a week ago, like how grateful we are to even understand right now how great we have it, right? In this beautiful little 1-bedroom apartment that we have, in a backyard, and our dog, and like we're so self-aware. And that's something I learned through my sobriety, of like taking inventory of what I have in my life, or even thinking about like moving to New York, living in this commune Airbnb weird thing, right, for 2 months with no idea what we were going to do, to now being really secure and happy, and feeling like we're okay. And I think that's I'm really grateful to be able to have that awareness now. Same thing when you look at we've all had those bar teams that were just like incredible, right? We've had bar teams that aren't great. We've had bar teams that are. But being able to be aware in the moment of like how special this team was, right? Specifically, just for the love of it, but Ryan Puckett, Roger Gross, Colin Lime, Paul Morrison, myself, Leah, like all of these people that work together, Brooke at Libertine Liquor Bar in Indianapolis, which isn't there anymore, unfortunately, but like that team, I mean, I have goosebumps right now. Like, it was such a special, eclectic group of people that were, truthfully, we were doing things we didn't quite understand. Like, we were ahead of the game. We shouldn't have been as far along as we were, but it's because everybody was there supporting each other, and it was a beautiful time. Yeah, and it's unfortunate to say sometimes things like that, because things change for a reason. The seasons change. We have spring, fall, winter, summer for that one reason, right? So that's basically the same thing with friends. Sometimes you have a group of friends that you build something so good, especially at the bar. It's a community, right? And when that changes, it's kind of like everything, like it's out of place. Like, oh, I'm missing something. But you're probably missing that person telling you, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. This is how you do it. And then, it's kind of like directing you to the right way. But sometimes, it's hard for other people to find the right words. Sure. But I'm sure everybody wants to direct you to the right way. Yeah. So cool. So cool. There's peaks and valleys. I say this a lot, right? And you have to have both. Yeah. And I think being able to embrace the valley is really hard. But when you can just accept that it's part of the deal, but know that it's going to get better, I think it also kind of takes some of the power away from the valley a little bit. Not to get too far down this this hole, but I just, not every job's going to be the best. Not every person's going to be the best. But like, if you can understand that there's going to be sun on the other side of this, it's all right. And also what I think is very important in this industry is like when we learn about patience, because sometimes you see people like, oh my God, Michael Toscano is in Pathfinder and blah, blah, blah. And people want to be like you, but they don't know how much it took you, like the hustles and everything to get here, and also the knowledge, right? But we have to go through that process, and
if you practice patience, sometimes it's like, okay, I have to learn this. I'm going to do it. Even if it's not today, just take little steps, but try to feel like, try to ask for help as well, because sometimes we are ashamed of asking help, or like, I feel like when you met the person who introduced you to Dante, you feel like, oh, what about if I don't say anything, right? But talking about that, how was your experience working at Dante?
I mean, it was a grind. I don't know what else to tell you. It was a grind. It's an incredibly complicated, challenging, beautiful, rewarding program.
It is.
And I, when I started there, this was, they had only been open for 8 months or so. They were still pretty new, right? So I got the incredible experience of riding the wave to number one. And they weren't doing all the things that they do now. Some of the batching and some of the I don't want to say shortcuts, but the innovation that makes executing that program easier.
Yeah, it's volume.
Yeah, the volume piece of it,
Exactly.
right? And so we were still figuring that out. So I got to kind of help workshop that and build some of those things, which was super cool. But also, like, it just established me in my career. It's what led to Woodford. It was such a necessary step for me to also understand that I had some skills and some value to add to this, but like I got to see a lot of incredible places. I got to do a lot of really great traveling, and it really did open me up to everything that's happened. Right, I wouldn't have had, I'm very much adamant. Like I wouldn't change anything in my life, right? Because it's led me to this moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to be anywhere else but right here.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
It's destiny.
But Dante, man, it still is, because I went to LA with my wife for a moment. We got back. I was back at Dante part time a couple years ago till Pathfinder. And it's still exactly what it was. It's still a program you've got to be willing to put in the time and the hours and care. And it's the first time I ever thought I was an artist, or like consider myself an artist, when like on a Saturday night shift, getting my just ass kicked and like looking over to the past and seeing the 15 drinks I just did, and they all were perfect, and you see the tray and you're like, holy shit, like I just did that. Like that was, that job is the only job that's ever made me feel like that. Right, where you execute the program and it's built just right, and like you've hit every wash line and the garnishes are perfect and it's balanced. Like that was the first job that really made me feel like that.
How is your process of creating a drink? Like, did you try? I mean, draw like the glass and everything.
My process is definitely not that. No. For me, honestly, my strength as a bartender is how I make you feel when you're sitting in front of me. I'm the jester of the staff, right? Like I will be the one on point who greets people that walk in and dances for everybody and like makes everybody feel welcome. I'm not that. My wife will create incredible cocktails, and her palate is incredible. She'll layer all these flavors and she'll create an experience for you. For me, I am much more 4 or 5 ingredient, balanced, simple, just clean cocktails that I can make consistently. Somebody told me really early on, Sean Kenyon from Occidental in Colorado, told me really early in my career that a guest is tasting the cocktail the moment they walk in to the moment they leave.
They are. And
so for me, I felt like, okay, then my job, the cocktail is such a small part of it. And it's also just never anything I was interested in drinking. So for me, like, yes, beautiful glassware, beautiful ice, yes. But let me give you a 4-ingredient cocktail that is going to be perfect and make you feel like you're the only thing in the bar, the only person in the bar. And that's led to some incredible relationships, incredible friendships, right? I had a guy that walked into my bar on a Tuesday night, on a rainy Tuesday in Indianapolis years ago, moved from Baltimore to Indy, and over time became a really dear friend and like walked me down the aisle at my wedding.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So like for me, being a part of your memories was what the job was, right? I got to be the background player that made your engagement or your wedding or your just night out or your grandmother, like whatever it was, I got to be a part of that memory that you would then tell. It's very, very crazy like idea of like I get to live on in your stories, right?
Yeah.
That is true, and often we don't really think about it as service, or hospitality. But when you're a bartender, you're basically doing that because you're building that connection. And when somebody's celebrating their birthday, an anniversary, or even a night out, you don't know if they're gonna mention your name. Are you gonna say, "Oh, this bartender from such place was so nice. He even gave us some sparkling, for celebration." It doesn't have to be a wedding, but for.
Well, it's just like, there's a couple specifically that they came out on their first date, and then they came in when they got engaged, and then they came in when they got married, and then they came in when she got pregnant, and then they came in when the baby was born. Like, that's a life cycle.
Wow, that's impressive.
That happened, in reality. And, like, you just never know in that moment who that guest is that's in front of you and, like, how important of an impact you're going to make on them. And so for me, that's what hospitality, like, that's the alpha and the omega of it for me.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the professor, but he was talking about, I was listening to a podcast, and he was talking about that some people ask themselves, like, what is the meaning of my life, right? And sometimes you feel like, he was explaining that sometimes you're looking for something that you do for yourself, and that could be meaningful. But he was explaining more like, the meaning of life is when you are doing something for someone else, when you approach to their life, and also you're lucky to have someone that opens their life for you, so you have something to do, you can help them, and I think that's the meaningful part of hospitality.
Yeah, listen, it's I have two non-negotiables with whatever comes next in my life, right? So, like, Pathfinder is probably my last thing in this world, in the hospitality space. Like, I really do I think it's time for me to do something else. But my two non-negotiables are I want to work for myself and I want to make people happy. Whatever that ends up being, I don't know yet. I have time. We have plenty of time. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. But those are my two non-negotiables. So I agree with you 100%. Because that's where I get the most joy too, right? Like, the drinks are great, but, like, man.
Yeah, you have to make people feel special. Like, and this is what I always say also, again, is for the people who's listening to us, when you go to your cousin's house, your mom, your friends, they're always welcoming you. So they're doing a hospitality in a way. You bring your bottle, whatever kind of bottle, or if you want to bring some sodas, you bring in something that has made. So I think that's what hospitality is all about, they're welcoming on somebody and making them feel like family. Like, you never know what they're going through their life.
Yeah.
But the fact that you have to make them feel special, that one moment, that 1 hour, you're going to live on the memories probably. If not, they're going to probably remember you somehow.
Yeah.
It always happens. It's happened to me.
Yeah, let's have another cheer.
Oh my God. I think we went way too deep, and I actually like that because
it's great.
It actually shows, what the other side of hospitality, not only what we do for a living, serving people, but also like how we feel as humans and how we project these feelings to others and how others, can, reward us for what we're doing. Yes, we also have a bad day, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to take it on this person because they're sitting in front of me drinking their cocktail and they don't even know anything about my life,
Right.
But sometimes if they don't want to have a conversation, that's fine too, Let them have a drink and make them happy, that's all.
How many times has a guest turned your day around, though? You know what I mean?
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
You get that person that sits in front of you that makes you feel great about what you're doing because like, there's always opportunities to reciprocate, right? You just got to be open to that, and I think that it's special. But I think, segueing into like this, right, this product and non-alc and all of those things, we talked about this before. Non-alcoholic products, whether it's Pathfinder or Aplos or Seedlip or whoever, Ritual, whatever, it is hospitality. Like, it is the crux of what hospitality is, right? It is an inclusive product that opens you up to including more people in the experience that you're creating in your bars and restaurants, right? There's just no way around it. And so I think it's really special what we're doing. And I think from somebody who doesn't drink anymore, it's really important because I'm still going out to bars and restaurants, right?
So probably people will be like, well, you work at cocktail bars, you work for Woodford. Can we ask you why you went sober?
No, I'm kidding. Of course you can. Of course you can. I don't want to talk about it. No, listen, for me, I grew up around alcoholics, right, in my family. So open to that idea very early on, but very adamant, like a true alcoholic, that I was not going to be one of those people. I think, truthfully, getting out from behind the bar and going to work for Woodford, that put a pretty big magnifying glass on like my behavior and my habits, but also working for a brand like Woodford in New York City, like you got to be on your shit, right? And I had some experiences that the realization that I was losing a lot of time to blackouts, to brownouts, to the hangovers, to running into people at events and not remembering who they were, right? And offending some people when I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name and I know I should and I'm really sorry, what is it? And then being very upset with me. A couple close calls before Woodford, during Woodford, truthfully, like things were like, I just should not be on this planet, realistically. I was never the wake up and start drinking. I was never the, I needed to survive kind of drinker, alcoholic, but I was definitely there is no first gear, right? The minute I'm drinking, I am
full.
We are running to the end of the line, right? And then as I just kept going, those nights got shorter and shorter because I was getting drunker faster. And then there was also situations where I would be out with Brooke having dinner and literally have a beer or a glass of wine and then not remember the next day because I was so saturated with alcohol already that I didn't even feel it anymore. And so I think all of those things kind of culminated at Tales of the Cocktail, not because I was drunk that week necessarily, but there was just a situation at the Spirited Awards. Woodford was sponsoring an award. Dante was going to win that award. I had just left Dante. This was going to be an opportunity to be on stage to like present this award to them, and it was going to be this really great moment. People were sitting in our seats because when you sponsor an award, you get like set seats with the deal. Somebody was sitting in our seats. They refused to move them from our seats. I got like really butthurt about it and like kind of just I didn't cause a huge scene, but definitely like overreacted to the point where like my friends, my other coworkers were like, Michael, like it's not a big deal, man. Like chill the fuck out. And it was really embarrassing. And then I almost missed the opportunity to present, right? I didn't. I got my shit together. My friend Alex Chen was at the awards as well, kind of saw me spiraling, pulled me aside, calmed me down. Got on stage, got to present the award, but I was annihilated, right? I was just shit-faced. And then after the awards, you're downstairs in the holding room. There's no food, really, at least at the time. That may have changed. It's been a long time. In this moment, snacks, candy, but all the booze you can drink, right? And I was not in a good place. And so I left. Like 8:30, I was back in my hotel room, ordered pizza, passed out before the pizza got there, like that whole sad story, right? And that was it. That was enough. And I got home a couple of days later and just, for the first time, like sat next to Brooke and said, the famous Michael, I'm an alcoholic. And that was kind of it. And even at that time, I did not know that I was done. I just thought I needed to dry out. And it was not the case. It's like 3 months later, we're on the subway platform. I don't know if it's a while later, we were on the subway platform going to work, going other places, and I was in a really bad mood. We talked about this earlier too. And Brooke just looks at me and she's like, why are you being a dick today? And I was like, I don't know, because I wasn't doing any of the work to understand why I was drinking so much, what I was running from, all the things that I was not that I was avoiding. And so that's when it really hit me that like, oh shit, like you need to go to AA, you need to get some meetings under your belt, you need to get a sponsor, you need to do the work to come out of this better, right? And that was 6.5 years ago or so now. And now my sobriety keeps me sober because I fucking love my life. I don't want to lose any of it.
That's a very, very inspiring story, and I thank you for sharing it because I feel like, besides the industry, I think everybody who's struggling with any addiction, sometimes we are afraid, we are also ashamed, but I have the opportunity to work in a hospital, and alcoholism is another disease, right? Like if you have, I always put this analogy is like when you have pain in your tooth, you go to your dentist, right? When you have pain in your soul, you should go to the therapy because it helps you. And if you have, the opportunity to have AA or Ben's friends or whoever wants to help you, I know it's very hard for people to take that first step of like, I don't need help. I don't need to go there. I'm not sick, I'm not an alcoholic, or I know this, and that. But also, I think when we're a partner, I feel like I was listening to also another podcast about alcoholism, and it says that sometimes, yes, it is not our, role to be your therapist, right? But sometimes also the person who has a problem or a disease, they don't even know how to start. And if it's good for you as a partner to help them to look for a therapist, to make an appointment and just push him to, just go, because I know it's going to be hard for you, but at the end, we're going to have this result of having a better relationship. Your body's going to thank it later, and you have more clarity of like how you live your life.
Yeah. I think it's important and I've had some friends that I've now put in I have a friend that just crossed a year recently, and she's doing great. And she tried a lot before that, and it was a really big struggle. And I don't know her story, so I don't remember. I don't know all the reasons why it was struggle, but I do know a lot of people struggle with the idea of forever. And so I'm really, really adamant when I talk to people that do reach out to me of like 1 hour is a win, right? 1 minute, 1 day, 1 week. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to think about the vacation you're taking in 8 months to Italy, right? Mm-hmm. Like I remember telling my grandmother, who's also sober, well, yeah, when I go to Italy, I'm going to drink wine with Brooke, like clearly. And she's like, no, you're fucking not. Like you're done, dude. You don't understand that it is over. Junebug did not cuss, but she was pretty adamant though of like, you are not drinking anymore. And so if I had thought about forever from the minute I decided not to drink, I don't know that I would have made it, right? It takes those days will compound. And if you're 4 weeks in or 2 days in or whatever and you have a drink, like that's okay. That's okay. You just did 2 days. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You just did 2, 3, 4, whatever that time frame is, sober, clean. That's a win, right? Yeah. And like pick it up the next day. You don't have to fall off the cliff because you have a drink if you're trying not to drink. You can just have it be that and then move on and just start over. Like there's no rules, Yeah,
I think that the first step is always I think the only rule that I could probably see here is just take the first step. Yeah. Give it a try. If it works, and on your own, do it. But if it doesn't work on your own, like you say, you have a partner, you have a friend, it's hard for us, like we mentioned before, especially men who are like you as a child, you were told not to do, not to cry, not to ask for help. You're the man, whatever, and all this spiel they give you as a kid. For us, it's really hard to ask, for things. Be like, oh no, I can't ask my partner to help me. This is my own thing, I have to like own it. But at the same time, like, no, now you have somebody who's going to help you. Yeah. Now you have somebody who is looking at you from different eyes, and, they're not judging you. They just want you to be better. And, and it only takes that one first step, to move on. And I'm so glad that you said it because, like I said, we don't really say it out loud because I think we are afraid of, not afraid, but a lot of us, I think I'm going to put myself in this situation. I'm afraid to tell my friends, hey, I can't drink. I'm not going to drink, Mm-hmm. But it's not really that. It's like we said in the past, the non-alcoholic situation is for people who want to enjoy themselves, who want to go out, who want to sit at the bar. Doesn't matter if there's alcohol there. You can drink something, You can eat enjoy a nice meal, enjoy a good non-alcoholic spirit or a non-alcoholic crafted cocktail thought of that somebody put together for a reason. For you to enjoy, you have to be part of this. Enjoy yourself. You don't stay indoors and don't just go out, Yeah. Or even you go to the beach and bring a pack of this, or you can bring a pack of whatever,
Yeah, an athletic beer. Yeah. I mean, a non-alcoholic beer. My wife rarely drinks a real beer anymore because they're so good now. Lower calories too. You don't feel so bloated. I mean, all of those things. But I think it's one. My wife never put any pressure on me to do anything, right? She very much let me find the space and find my own way, right? And then she found her own too. She had to, there were things we had to talk about, things that I had done or behavior that was problematic that we needed to address as a married couple and find the space to do that. But I also feel like it's just this idea of like, it's nobody's business necessarily if you don't want it to be, right? Yeah. I told everybody I was drowning from tails for the first month that I was sober or stopped drinking because I didn't want to tell people that I wasn't drinking. But I think now the good news is because that was so long ago. Today it feels like the non-alcoholic space is exploding, right? They're going to crack $1 billion in 2026.
Wow.
It's nuts. Sober people aren't doing that, right? AA doesn't get out. We don't all go to the bar. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's not the case. It's people that are looking for the alternative. There are people that I'm out all night. I'm going to drink all night, but I want to be out all night. So every other, right, the zebra striping, we're going to work in a non-alcoholic cocktail, non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic wine. So I hope, and what it feels like I'm seeing is the stigma behind not drinking is falling off, which then I think will lead to more people making the decision to just stop, because your life does not get worse when you're sober. Like, it just doesn't. I don't care who you are. Like, that's a fact. Your life will get better because you will open yourself up. You'll feel better. You'll take care of yourself better. You'll open yourself up to experiences. You'll find ways to be happy. But yeah, I don't know.
I feel like in that sense, how do you get to a Pathfinder?
Funny enough, so I got to Pathfinder originally working for another brand. So I went out to Seattle with another non-alcoholic spirits company for Seattle Cocktail Week. And Craig Ravinsky, who was the global brand ambassador for Pathfinder for a long time, his bar was Life on Mars in Seattle where they launched. He had just moved to New York. But he was back in Seattle for Seattle Cocktail Week. So my brand was like, you should go in and say hello, meet him, and maybe we could do like a cocktail together or something. So I had Pathfinder for the first time then. And I was like, I'm working for the wrong company, man. This shit is so good. And I told him, I was like, listen, if you ever need anybody else, like, I want to be the first in line. And we just stayed friends. And then a lot of stuff happened between then and now. But basically what had happened was the company that I worked with put me in a non-compete for 2 years. So I was locked out of the non-alcoholic space as a sober professional for 2 years because this company decided that while I had no proprietary information and could do nothing to harm them, they were not going to allow me to exist because I had quit their company for a myriad of reasons. And so when that non-compete ended, that month, Pathfinder got distribution in New York. And we had just moved back to New York.
Talking about the right time.
Yeah. Like, it all worked out. So that was really it. And then, truthfully, another status tip of the hat to Craig. I had my initial interview Craig had asked me about it about 6 months before. And I was like, man, I don't know if I want to just be another cog in a wheel. And so I was going through this whole this other, just like, I was in a weird space at that point because I was doing part-time at Dante. My wife was working for Dante in Beverly Hills, so we had just moved back from California. She was back in LA working. We were just in a weird space. Yeah. So I told Craig, I was like, I don't know if I should have this job. Like, maybe don't hold it for me. Like, I don't know. I don't feel good about it. So I had my initial interview with him and one of our founders, Chris Abbott, and it was fine. But Chris knew that I had said, I don't really want to do it. So there wasn't quite the buy-in yet. And so Craig really put his name on me and like fought for me to get a second interview.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then Chris and I had it, and then it was great. And then from there on, it's all turned into what it is now. But it's the best brand I've ever worked for. It's the most fun I've ever had selling anything in my life. And I'm really just excited about what we're doing.
Wow.
And so thank you for coming. And for people who doesn't know Pathfinder, can you tell us a little bit about the Pathfinder?
Yeah, so our hemp and root is our distillate, right? Our non-alcoholic distillate. So that is made with cereal grain hemp seed. So think breakfast cereal, right? Not THC, not CBD. We're not an adaptogenic brand. There's no cannabinoids in our product. We ferment that hemp seed and then we distill it. And then there's saffron and juniper and wormwood and Douglas fir and ginger and like all these incredible botanicals and herbs that are added. Some are in the distillation process. Some are added afterwards, terpenes and tinctures for aromatics and flavoring. And what's left is this beautiful non-alcoholic spirit that drinks like an amaro, right? Yeah. Like a bitter, like I tell people, Fernet without regret a lot. Jägermeister is another really good one. Not those flavor profiles, but definitely that style. What's really unique about hemp and root specifically is it's palatable on its own, which most non-alcoholic spirits can struggle with, right? Of like a consumer, you could just pour it on ice and drink it. Ours, you can. It is a digestif. It'll make you feel better. So if you're a bar in a restaurant and you have an amaro menu, we should be on it as your non-alcoholic amaro option.
Yeah, definitely.
But it also plays well with alcohol. We are very much about that, right? And it can be a foolproof drink. So you can take 2 ounces of whiskey, add half an ounce of Pathfinder, 3/4 ounces of Pathfinder if you really like it. And we're the Angostura and we're the simple syrup because we're using sugarcane in our products, so it shines through. And you actually get a intricate, complex old-fashioned, but it still feels like the old-fashioned or old-fashioned drinker would have.
Yeah.
That's 2 ounces of whiskey. That's still going to get you where you want to go as fast as you want to get there. But then also as simple as soda water, tonic, ginger beer, Fernet and Coke, right? You can do Pathfinder Coke. Shots. We are all about the shots, right?
Yeah.
Staff shots during service when guests want to buy you shots because then you can do it and not get in trouble. Everybody loves an M&M, Mezcal and Montenegro. We can be the Montenegro, Ferraris, Rhinar shots, like anything like
Black
that.
Manhattan.
Yeah, Black Manhattans all day. We do want to live as like the industry shot for people that want to still do it, but not necessarily get tore up.
No, and I mean, the thing is important for folks to know that, you can add, you don't have to use it just by itself. There's so many other things that you can add to it and play around with it if you guys have a bottle at home. If not, whenever you guys see a bottle, please give it a taste because I think it's important to taste it. We always say that,
Yeah.
When you taste something, it registers in your memory. And somewhere, somehow, like the song we talked about earlier, right? It's going to remember you like, oh, this ginger spicy. Is this spicy? Jalapeno or ginger is spicy?
Mm-hmm.
There are two kinds of spices, but you can like familiarize those flavors easier when you taste it. And if you have ever had like a Campari or a Boulevardier with, or whatever kind of cocktails, you can like could be like, oh, I can probably make a low proof cocktail, or perhaps an Americano. Maybe you can just add like a little bit of sherry in there, or an Adonis. I don't know. So many things coming in my mind.
Yeah,
right
listen. Look, it's always nice to be on a podcast with bartenders because everybody understands exactly what I'm saying. What's really important to us is that back bar space is really tight, especially in major cities, right, like New York. But back bars they're not notoriously large, right? So if we're going to be on your back bar, I want you to be able to use us. We want you to be able to use us across your program. We don't want to be one bottle on your back bar for one thing. We want to be a bottle on your back bar that you can use across your entire. So whether that's a low proof drink, a full proof drink, a non-alc cocktail, right? I think that there's opportunities for us to be integrated into your program where you would put an Amaro or a Vermouth to lower your ABV to help, truthfully, a little bit of crowd control, but also just like offering other things than just the norm. And then we talked about this earlier, right? You have these incredible bars and restaurants that do these incredible cocktail menus, infusions and smoke and all this stuff. And then the non-alc section kind of feels like they forgot about it. The low proof section kind of feels like they forgot about it. They just threw some stuff on there where we can come in and actually help you create cocktails that align with the ethos of your program so that the guests can enjoy the full breadth of your knowledge and what you're executing without feeling like you're kind of just like sliding in a beer and a non-alc sparkling.
And I think it's important for us to say now that there's actually non-alcoholic awards who some of the bars here in New York City just won. And I think that's important, that yes, there are the 50 best bars out there who create these amazing cocktails, but there are also bars that create amazing cocktails with non-alcoholic spirits, and we haven't explored that.
I just want to shout out to Sam Bale because she was very smart as well, but also like very supportive of like creating these awards. And I feel like, pushing this non-alcoholic. And I always said that, whatever you're doing, your body, your choice. So if you want to drink something with alcohol or non-alcohol, at the end of the day, it's just for being social, be like decent human being and just have fun, but not, don't put anyone on risk.
I would say, I think I have to add, if you guys out there, you just drink responsibly. That's all, I think if you guys want to drink, it's fine. We all drink. I'll drink. If you want to drink non-alcoholic, or if you don't want to drink at all, it's all good. But yeah, I think the one thing we have to mention is, you have to drink with responsibility because often, including myself, we have gone, through the dark side. And, it happens. I think at a younger age and a younger Edgar will probably do crazy things. Now that I'm more of a elderly, I think about this now, right? But in the past, it never really crossed my mind. And I'm so glad that we have these options now. In the past, we never had them.
Yeah, listen, when I stopped drinking 6 years ago, for real, there was very little available. And I do think it's, I tell people all the time, like this is my gluten allergy, right? This is just something I'm allergic to that I can't have. Alcohol is not the devil or the problem. I was the problem, right? So like for me, I just know that I can't have it. I want it all the time, right? I'm susceptible to marketing like anybody else, right? I watch a preview for Peaky Blinders, and do I want to sip whiskey neat with a Newsy Boy cap on? Of course I do. Like who doesn't? Yeah. But I think it is just giving people the opportunity to make a decision and have a choice, and still feel like they're authentically having it, right? I say death to the juice box all the time. I don't want Capri Suns. This isn't soccer practice. I want a real cocktail. There's ways for you to create it. It's the least you can do. And listen, I'm going to say something controversial right now.
You can say it.
And I shy away from these things. I don't like to cause a ruckus when I'm on the internet or anything like that. But you cannot be a 50 best bar, period, without a non-alcoholic cocktail program. And if you are, that's bullshit. I saw that, and I went through the list and I looked, because you're going to be a 50 best bar, but I can't drink in your bar? Like, I don't buy it. Or like, if you have a bespoke non-alcoholic cocktail program where you have all these drinks on your menu and then you have bespoke non-alc, that just lets me know that you don't really give a shit. That you're just going to make it up on the fly because you don't have time to think about it and put it on the menu with the 10 other drinks that you've spent all this time R&Ding. It doesn't make me feel included. It makes me feel like I've been kind of forgotten and I'm just kind of thrown off to the side. And it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very important thing, because also we were mentioning, that I think if we think about the restaurants before, when people have a gluten allergy, right? It would be like, oh my God, an allergy, and then 2 allergies, and then, something vegan, vegetarian, and then something vegan, and people start getting more agitated. And it was like, no, wait. Everybody is a customer, if we're going to call it like that. And then obviously if they come, it's our guest. So you should be ready to be inclusive, and not because the trend of being inclusive, it's just because, at the end of the day, it's also business, and you're losing a lot of business money because, someone who runs a bar, they think like, oh, this is so annoying. I have to be focused on my alcoholic drinks. Yes, but also there is a lot of work doing a non-alcoholic, and it's also a lot of pride that you came with ideas that doesn't necessarily mean to be alcoholic.
The other thing, we talked about this a minute ago, but I haven't really thought of it this way until right now. We've all been this person, right? We've all been the server or the bartender that has to ring in a meal and then specially notate gluten-free or vegan or whatever, right? We all know that feeling when you have to hit that button and then the chef has to know that they have to do something special for that meal, that it never goes well. It always pisses the chef off. Somebody's always mad because there's this extra step that they have to do. That's the same thing in cocktails. If you have on the menu a little asterisk next to a cocktail, then it says, can make this non-alcoholic. 2 things have to happen. 1, the guest has to be comfortable enough to vocalize out loud in front of their friends or whoever they're with, which we never know those situations, that they're not drinking and they want the non-alcoholic version. And then the server has to ring it in and tell the bartender that they have an extra step they have to make this drink the way it is. So that's also another thing when we talk about menus, that's a bugaboo of mine of like, just make non-alcoholic cocktails that look and feel like the cocktails you're executing to the best of your ability. If you're putting it on the guest to specially call out to you that they want something different, the likelihood of them doing that because they don't want to be a pain in the ass or they don't want to be annoying, and then you're also causing that problem when you're singing it into the bartender, which then also leads to situations where the bartender may not grab the right bottle because our Spagliato can be made non-alcoholic, and you ring it in and they miss it, and then it's a real Spagliato and it goes out to a table. That's not a oopsie, I'm sorry moment in a lot of situations, right? That could be a massive problem. So I think
especially if you're giving it to a kid,
Yeah,
because sometimes kids.
It's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I'm so glad that you said that, because I think when you get a note of a mix or drink, if you don't have it listed in the menu, it's harder for the bartender also to know what they want. Because if you, let's say, pretend you've put bartender's choice, you're like, oh, well, what is it? What do they want? Right. Or so as a server or bartender, you have to at least know or read the person, read the room. Right. my God, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, sometimes I had people like approach, the bartender, and they come and they would, can you put me a little bit of sparkling water in the coupe to pretend that I'm drinking, And in this case, we can offer the non-alcoholic versions. They look just like a cocktail. And like you say, you don't have to feel excited,
Well, what about like on a Saturday night when you're getting your ass kicked in the well and you have a bespoke menu option and I order a drink and you make it, and then an hour later I want that exact same drink again. Are you going to remember exactly how you built it and then make me the same thing? Or am I now stuck getting something else that you're deciding on a whim that I should have? Like it just, I think they're all shortcuts for people to put something on a menu so that they can say that they did it, but it still communicates to the person that's looking for it that they're not really thought about. Or it's the same thing as like this happened where I went into a bar and they sat down a little thing of sparkling water or sparkling wine in front of me as like a welcome thing. And I was like, I don't drink. And they got really awkward. And then they pulled it away and then I didn't get anything. You know what I mean? And so this moment of like this thing that was supposed to be customer service and this really nice hospitable moment becomes an awkward exchange where I ended up not getting anything while everybody else who was with me got to have something. But because I wasn't drinking, I just didn't get anything. And it was just like, this is a weird, like we have to be thinking about that. And it's I don't know.
Yeah.
We can talk forever about it.
We can talk forever. But also I think it becomes of like, hospitality. And I think having you here explaining Pathfinder and who is Michael Toscano with his secrets.
I feel like right now I sound like a pain in the ass. But
we actually love the fact that you were here. Thank you for taking your time.
Thanks for having me. This has been awesome.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching us, guys. For whoever is not watching it, can you tell whoever is listening your handles so they can reach out to you?
Yeah, so the Pathfinder is really easy. It's just at Drink the Pathfinder on Instagram. And then I am just at the Michael Toscano on Instagram. So really easy to find me there as well.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, guys. If you guys want to support this show, remember we have a link on the bio. It's Buy Me a Coffee. And don't forget to tip your bartenders.
Please. Everybody tips your bartenders. And please don't forget to subscribe and comment on Instagram so we can play with the algorithm and then everybody knows about Pathfinder. Please.
Boom.
And for more episodes like this, go to our website, www.bartalkingtalkingbarnyc.com.
This is it for today.
Sayonara, amigos.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Bye, friends.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, that was great.
I'm sorry. Sorry.